Hello and welcome back to the channel to another Royal Reviewer episode. And today, on Sunday, we are taking a look for the first time who has joined the King and Queen, of course Charles and Camilla, at Balmoral for the first time since the late Queen's passing. So, as we know, we'll get to all the facts in a moment, but as we know, Queen Elizabeth II passed away last September at Balmoral Castle. That is where she passed away. And there's been much talk about how the royal year has going to be spaced out and how King Charles is going to adapt the royal schedule. One thing that people were talking about is what was going to happen to Balmoral Castle. Now, Balmoral Castle is not owned by the nation. It is a privately owned castle by the royal family, by the King himself. So that was passed down from the late Queen Elizabeth to King Charles directly. So much talk about what he was going to do. Was he going to turn it into some kind of museum tribute to his late mother? No. Very much Balmoral Castle, and I've said this all the time, is that Balmoral Castle is very much an ode to Queen Victoria. Of course, it was built by Albert and Victoria, and in fact there is still some Victorian wallpaper and furnishings still in the castle today. So very much, there's tartan everywhere. It's very much an ode to Queen Victoria, not Queen Elizabeth. Queen Elizabeth and Philip, the late Duke of Edinburgh, didn't really update it terribly too much. So, if anything, it's an ode to Queen Victoria. So I didn't think that was going to happen. But the one thing that has happened is that the tourist season has been extended. So if you didn't know, you can actually visit Balmoral Castle if you are in Scotland. It's quite remote, so, it's a bit of a trek, but you can actually even stay on the grounds. Some of the lodges and accommodation, you can't stay in the castle, but you can stay very close to the castle in some of the lodges. I haven't ever stayed there, but I would really like to. That's something that I would like to do, obviously, when the royals are not there. So, whereas Her Majesty would normally go to Balmoral for about 3 weeks prior to moving into the actual castle itself, she would stay in a lodge where she would be quite comfortable, and then she would move into the castle for the remainder of the summer holidays. And she would be visited by her family and the Prime Minister of the day as well. Would normally spend at least a weekend up there with Her Majesty. So we didn't know how the King was going to kind of play this. Was he follow in his mother's footsteps? Because the King, when he was Prince of Wales, used to reside at Birk Hall, which was his grandmother, the late Queen Mother's home there. And of course, he still has that. He still has Birk Hall, and it is a favoured residence. So he sorted all of this out by basically moving into the castle 3 weeks later than what Her late Majesty, Queen Elizabeth II, would have done. And he's going to spend at least 3 weeks in the main Balmoral Castle, where he will be visited by friends and family, and I would imagine the Prime Minister, who is, of course, Rishi Sunak. So, but he's still maintaining Birk Hall. So after 3 weeks, will he then go back to Birk Hall and kind of decamp the castle and maybe turn the castle over to family, to visiting family and friends, while he resides more at Birk Hall? We're still yet to see that. But one thing we do know, and I'm looking at photographs now, I'll pop them on the screen where applicable. We do know who has attended the first Sunday church service at Craithie Kirk. So we haven't got terribly amazing photographs coming back. These are paparazzi type photographs. So a little bit grainy. You're looking through the windscreen and there's reflections. So we're not getting a really good view. But we can see, of course, that the King and Queen are in a vehicle on their own, and both looking very Scottish. The Queen is wearing, I think I've seen it in this outfit before, but she's wearing this beautiful kind of beret hat, this green with the red. The King obviously wearing a tartan kilt. Now, the King is very much known for being a lover of the kilt. Prince William, the Prince of Wales, not so much. And there's been lots of talk about, will he wear a kilt? Or is he trying to put off wearing it? We haven't seen him in a kilt. I don't think he favours a kilt. And But when he is king, will he kind of let this tradition of kind of wearing a kilt in the royal family die off? I don't know how I feel about this, because I do have a kilt. I was sent one for my Royal Reviewer Talk of the Crown days a long time ago. So I do have one, and I have worn one on camera before. But I don't know how I'd feel about wearing one in public. I'm not quite sure what Prince William's issue with it is. Is it that he's just not used to it? Maybe he doesn't like the appearance of his legs, although I'm sure I've seen pictures of Prince William's legs before, and they seem perfectly fine. So, I don't think he's got weird knobbly knees or anything, untoward going on down there. And I have actually seen a photo, but don't. The photo haunts me, it really does. So there is a picture out now. Google it at your own risk. Google at your own peril. But there is a photograph out there, if you can find it. Somebody up-kilted, they photographed up-kilt of the late Duke of Edinburgh, Prince Philip, when he was at the Braemar Games. And let's just say that he is a true Scotsman. He wasn't wearing any underwear. He wasn't wearing any. And that image, it's one of those images that once you've seen it, you can't unsee it. It's there forever. It's ingrained in your head. So Google at your own risk. You have been warned. I have warned you. Anyway, I don't think that William would make such a mistake if he did decide to wear a kilt, but I kind of want to see him wearing a kilt. I don't like these traditions kind of dying off because the younger generation just don't think that they're hip or cool, or they don't feel comfortable. I like traditions. I'm a big traditionalist, and my vote is for Prince William to wear a kilt. But anyway, we'll see in due course. So in the next photo, I can see Prince William driving, and Prince Andrew is seated next to him in the passenger seat with Catherine in the back seat. Now, again, we can't really see terribly too much of what Catherine's wearing. I can see a Scottish feather plume hat. Makeup looks impeccable from what I can see. Again, William wearing a suit, and obviously Andrew wearing a suit too. Much talk about Prince Andrew. Again, what would the king do with Andrew? Would he allow him to come to Balmoral or not? Now we know, obviously, that he has agreed that Andrew should come. Remember, it is a family holiday. This is not a state occasion. And it seems that Andrew has not been frozen out of family life behind the scenes. It is said that the king's relationship has thawed with Andrew. I don't know terribly too much whether or not, it was terribly too bad to begin with. It could be media talk that perhaps they weren't on good terms, but it certainly has transpired that Andrew has not been able to come back to full-time royal duties, or any royal duties for that matter, but he is still involved privately in family occasions such as summer holidays and church services. So he was there. What was unusual is that he wasn't in a car by himself. I was surprised to see him up front and centre with the Prince and Princess of Wales, who, it seems in the past, have taken much pains to kind of distance themselves from their uncle, William's uncle. So I was quite surprised. Coincidence? I don't think so. I think this is definitely a show of favourability towards Andrew. I don't think it's in any way, shape or form condoning any past behaviours, but I do think that it is accepting him in a very public way in front of the cameras, because the royals know that the cameras, all the photographers are going to be there. It's kind of accepting him in a family kind of way. So could this be the beginning of an easing back a little bit more into public life? Coincidence? I think not, but let me know what you think. Anyway, Lady Susan Hussey was also there. Now, of course, Lady Susan Hussey has been in the media, I say recently, over the past 12 months, because of the incident that happened at Buckingham Palace regarding the race row. It seems that, if ever there was any bad blood between the royal family and Lady Susan, which I don't think there was, she is certainly, again, up front and centre. Coincidence? I think not. I think she's most definitely seen there. She's there to be seen. And I think all is well in the Lady Susan Hussey camp. So that was quite interesting to see. Also, in another car, we had Edward and Sophie and Sir Timothy Lawrence and Princess Anne. Now, Sir Timothy Lawrence is, of course, Princess Anne's husband and has been accompanying her on family and public events over his involvement with Princess Anne, being married to Princess Anne. And in particular, since the late Queen's passing. So up front and centre again. I think it's good that they are all there together. Now, let's just talk about Sarah Ferguson. So Andrew is not there on his own. He is accompanied by his ex-wife, Sarah Ferguson, Sarah, Duchess of York. She isn't the Duchess of York. She is an ex-royal, so styled Sarah, Duchess of York. It's a slight detail, but a very important one. Anyway, they are staying at the 7-bedroom Craithie Lodge on the Balmoral estate. So they're not staying in the main castle. I don't think that's a shun from the King and Queen. Although Balmoral from the outside looks huge, and it is a big, huge castle, they are still limited when it comes to accommodation, because not only do they have to accommodate all the visiting royals that are descending upon Balmoral, they also have to accommodate the staff as well. So there is, although it's big, there isn't an abundance of bedrooms. So some of the properties that you can actually rent and stay in Craithie Lodge. So some of these properties are then utilised for members of the royal family. Sarah and Andrew are in Craithie Lodge. I would imagine that they would be visited by Princesses Beatrice and Eugenie and their families at some point, if not already, but we haven't seen evidence of that at the Sunday church, but I would imagine that would be going on. Also, the King and Queen were welcomed to Balmoral formally, and they presented a new colour to the regiment that will be guarding the King whilst at Balmoral. So it's a different colour to what Queen Elizabeth, the late Queen Elizabeth, had. It's a prerogative of a new monarch to have his or her own colour, and it is known as the Ballater colour. I hope I've said that correctly. It's Ballater, Ballater, I think, and that is the kind of closest town, inhabited town to Balmoral. So, keeping it local, keeping it Scottish. We have the Braemar Games coming up to look forward to, where we'll be seeing hopefully Charles and Camilla and maybe some other royals. Will William be wearing a kilt if he's still there? We don't know. But I just thought I would come on and talk about what's been going on. Interesting to see next week, next Sunday, who is still at the castle, who's gone, who's come, who's going to be coming. Will Princesses Beatrice and Eugenie actually stay at the castle as their own individual family units? We don't know. We're going to have to wait and see how everything unfolds. So, thank you for watching this video. If you have enjoyed it, please give it a big old thumbs up. Don't forget to share on social media. And of course, do hit the bell so that you know whenever I upload a new video. So from me, mwah, to you all, and goodbye.